Hannah, it's my last time getting you together, and I'm gonna get you together real good today. Real good. She is a piece of work. Piece of work. Nick, be glad. Be glad. If you're new here, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button real quick. Thumbs up the video. Drop the comments down below. I want to hear y'all's thoughts. I know y'all will, but I want to let y'all know again. Drop it down below. I want to hear y'all's thoughts. I haven't gotten into the other episodes comments yet, but I'm gonna do that after I drop this, which is why I haven't been in it, because I've been trying to get all this done so I can. But yeah, I want to hear what y'all talking about. Thumbs up the video, drop the comments, share, subscribe. Let's go. Let's go. All right, so we get the first scene of Hannah and Nick. We had a lot of their scenes today, but we got them coming back home from the Gatsby party. The energy was very tense. It's clear they probably were arguing on the way home. But she ends up asking what kind of conversation he had with Katie. He says, just talking about shit that happened. And she's like, what? Like, what? Can you explain? And he's like, so you feel some type of way about it? And she ends up saying, yeah, she's been my best friend in the whole wide world. And the fact that my best friend in the whole wide world and my fiance are giggling and having the best time of their life is annoying. My question is, her best friend in the entire world, since when does her and Katie, did they know each other prior to coming on the show and doing the show? Or is she exaggerating yet again? That's my question. I'm like, your best friend in the world, but regardless, it doesn't seem like she even understands why she's mad. Like, she's just mad because they were having a long conversation. It's just like, do you even know what the context of the conversation was? Because it's nothing to be upset about, but we'll get to it. But he says it meant nothing to him, exactly. But she ends up saying that you said Katie was the person that you needed closure with. He did not say that. He did not say that. He turned around and said, I didn't say I needed closure. She said, that's what you said. What did you say then? He says that if there was one person I wanted to talk to, it would be Katie. That's what he said. He said he didn't need any closure, but it's just like, he said, like, she was the one person outside of you that I had a connection with. Didn't he say that? I think he said, like, we were each other's number one and told that to her, I think. It was like, if we were to have a conversation with anybody, she would be the one, essentially, and wanted to see what she looked like or whatever. Meaningless. But, Hannah is insecure, which is what I said at the beginning of the season. I said her insecurities was going to be what was going to end this relationship. Everything I said came true. But she ends up saying that you got what you wanted. He said, yeah, I'm a man. And she says, then says, that's what's frustrating. When you tell me that Katie's someone that you're intrigued to see, I said, if that's how you felt, why didn't you say that? Why didn't you address it when he said it before y'all went to the party? Because he said to you, if anybody he would have wanted to talk to, it would have been her. So you were told about that. He went and did it. You didn't have any issue with it before. Like, why didn't you address it then? That's because you, Hannah, you claim how blunt you are. You weren't blunt then. You didn't address it then. So, like, it could have all been prevented if you would have said something. But he said that I wasn't. I just wanted a conversation about why I didn't see her on the fourth day after they had talked the first 3 days. And he ends up saying that she had said that you were like some of the guys that I dated in the past. He says that he gets it. He's happy with Hannah. She says, that's all you said. Why did you have a 40-minute conversation? I said, because he can. Like, it can be a simple conversation. It could be a good conversation to have on a copacetic, platonic way. It doesn't have to be super she's insecure in him. She's insecure with herself with the way that he is as a person. And if that's how you feel, you shouldn't be with him and you should have never been with him to begin with. We've all said that, but that's just what I'm thinking in the moment watching this. But he says she's a cool girl. He said that if that's your best friend in the world, why didn't you go ask her? I said, word. She ends up saying, because you're my fiance, we're talking about, were you talking about how fabulous I am? Or were you talking about your past relationships? I said, is every conversation he has with anybody or any other girl, just any random girl that could be your friend, does it have to be about you? They can't talk about something random with it just being just a normal conversation. It doesn't have to be a flirtatious situation. You can tell that she's threatened by Katie. This goes back to her insecurities. Like, it literally does. But he says, are we mature enough at this age? She then cuts him off and then proceeds to say, are you mature enough? I taught you everything you fucking know. I've turned you from a boy into a man. I would have told her to shut the fuck up. I'd have packed my shit, told her to go over there and go find her dad. Like, you are doing too much. I'm like, are you crazy? Because she swears she's better than him. The way she was talking to him in that moment, she continues to talk to him throughout the rest of the episode. But she was talking to him so condescendingly, so rude. She puts herself, in her mind, she's above him. And I can't stand that. I can't stand watching it. But she then mentions how her and Ashley's conversation that they had, she said she was talking about how she doesn't show him her fun side. I said, lie again. Ashley was the one that said that you don't show him your fun side. You was over there too busy talking about how he don't eat pussy. Instead of talking about how dissatisfied you are with his sex life and his sex game. Like, stop lying, Hannah. Hannah didn't do nothing but lie. But she then says that she's fun, but she hasn't gotten to show him that because she's been so stressed out, and even her parents said it. That's your own fault, Hannah. They said that to you. They said you need to relax. Like, you're too stressed out. Relax. Have fun. Like, the little things that you're worried about, those aren't that big of a deal to be sitting there stressing out over all the time. And if it's such a big deal to you, then break up. Like, you talk about how mature you are. If you're so mature, if you really see those issues and know that those issues bother you that much, why are you still wasting your time? Why are you still wasting his time? But she says that Katie came up to her 3 different times telling her how attractive he is. And he said, so what does that have to do with me? I said, exactly. That's something that she's doing. He didn't tell her to go up there and do it. She keeps talking. And he says again, what does that have to do with me? She can't answer it. She goes around answering that question. So she then ends up saying that him having a conversation hurts her, and that's her best friend. And she ends up saying, it's like, is that really my best friend and my fiance, or my fiance that's disrespecting me like that? Nobody disrespected you. Yes, her excessively talking about how attractive he is, that was a little bit much, and it lacks social awareness. Is like certain things that you shouldn't say. I don't think it was disrespectful. It might have been excessive, but you can say somebody's attractive and still not really mean or act on it. Like, she didn't act on it either. That's the thing. I thought she might have watching the episode as it happened, but she didn't. She went over there and was pretty much turning him down low key. But he also didn't disrespect her. He didn't disrespect you either. Yes, he was over there with his flirtatious nature, but he didn't make any moves. All right, so then he goes and asks her, he asks if she trusts him or is she secure in what they have. And she ends up saying, it's not about trusting you. I just don't know if I trust Katie. So I said, so why are you going off on him? If that's really your issue, why are you going off on him? He ends up saying, I don't know why we're having this conversation if you don't trust me. And she ends up cutting him off and says, so do you understand my frustration? He says, I really don't. I don't understand it either. But she then says that she then says, do you remember when we got into a fight? And I said, remember, at the end of the day, it's about respect. I said, the audacity of you to be talking about somebody giving respect when all you've done is disrespect him. That's all you've done. He's done nothing but respect you, and you've done nothing but disrespect him. I'm like, yes, she needs a mirror. But he starts laughing as she says it, rightfully so, because I'm like, I'd have laughed in her face too, because like, do you hear yourself? You call me delusional, but you're the most delusional one in this entire relationship. But she ends up going off to bed, and he says that he respected her, and if he can't have a conversation with one of her best friends, you just don't trust us, clearly. And she says, I have no clue what you talked about. I just want you to know that I'm upset, and I want you to understand that I'm upset. I said, so if you didn't have any idea what they were talking about, why don't you just ask him, and he would have told you, and then you would have realized that all of this that you're doing right now is for no reason. But then again, she probably would have been, her insecurities would have ate at her just by them talking about, okay, well, we had a connection at the beginning, him saying that he saw her Instagram or whatever and told her that it was beautiful. She would have been bothered by that. Should have been bothered by that. Yes, he was flirting, and I believe it was harmless, honestly. But if he was flirting with intention, I wouldn't be mad at it, because he needs to run from Hannah. Hannah, she ain't ready to be in a relationship. She's not. She got too many insecurities she got to work out herself. But he ends up saying it's not my fault that she came up to me telling you that I was hot 5 times. Like, it's not. And he reiterates to her how into her he is, and says, who gives a fuck what Katie thinks? I'm like, yeah, that's the right attitude, but she's insecure. She's going to always think about what any other woman would think. She's more, I was going to say anybody that she might think is better looking than her, but she got so upset about that old lady on the beach who looked like somebody's grandma. So I'm like, she probably would get jealous if he showed a little girl attention, like just playing with a little girl, just having fun. But she ends up then harping on, I was so excited to show you my fun side. I'm like, yeah, right. You could have shown him it. If you really wanted to, you could have. But he ends up saying, but who ruined that? It wasn't me. Exactly. She then starts talking about her feet, trying to avoid taking accountability for everything. She then starts talking about how good he's looking, how high he looks right now, ready for bed. She's flirting with her eyes. I guess the fun that she wanted to show him was her putting some moves on him. I guess the conversation with Ashley made her want to come and just like put it on him. Yeah, I guess that was her fun side. But I'm just glad he's not falling for it because he didn't fall for it in the moment. He ends up saying too, I guess I can't be myself. I'm like, yeah, that's literally what it is. You can't be yourself. She's threatened by you being yourself. But he ends up talking to her, and then she started ignoring him at one point, but then she didn't decide to come back out to talk to him and tell him, we could talk about it in the morning. He didn't ask her one time before bed, is there something that you're mad at me for, and is it something that I could have done better? She lies and says no. I'm like, anyways, 9 days before the weddings, we get Taylor and Garrett, which I'm very happy their scenes were kind of cut short because they're boring to me, but their scenes were very short. There was one at the end that I did fast forward through. I'm not going to lie to you. But they're in San Diego. And I guess they figured everything out. But she ends up claiming that she was crying all night, and they talked at lengths about everything that happened. He feels terrible. She then found out what his response is. I guess she saw the text, I wish we could see it. But she says that it was to his ex. It was more friendly than she thought it would be. My whole thing is, if it was so friendly, then why did he lie about it? Why did he not tell you that he said something about it? That's what gets me. But I wish I could see the text so I can make the decision myself if it was really friendly. But regardless, they're fine. He ends up meeting her family. We didn't get a full scene, I guess, because they didn't want to be on camera too. And I guess her dad was there. I didn't see anything or any mention of her dad being there, even though she said her family and friends. But I'm going to assume he was, because he wasn't with her mom later on. But she pans the phone around to show us everybody that was there. Apparently it went well. Ashley and Tyler, they go-kart racing, and he's talking about how many times he had said sorry to her once they finished, trying to convince her how sorry he is. But my whole thing is, you can say sorry all you want, but them actions say otherwise. You're still lying in this woman's face, and you still proceeded to do it. So you're not sorry. But she says that the shock is worn off about everything that happened. Now she's able to rationalize and paint a picture of how it would be with kids involved, those kids involved. She said that I want a life with you, and I want you in my life no matter what. I said, Ashley, I wonder how she's reacting to this right now watching it. I wonder. That's why I can't wait for this reunion. But she ends up saying that she feels like this is all worth the reward, talking about him. I said, but he ends up saying that he likes that conclusion that she made. I bet you do. But she ends up saying that they're going to get married, and if any more cats crawl out the bag, I can't make no more promises. I said, you better get ready, Ashley. You better get ready. But Marissa and Ramsey's, they're at home baking. They're filling out the marriage license certificate. He's filling it out. He barely remembers her birthday. She looks concerned. She then jokes around and says, you don't even know what my name is. But they go ahead and fill that out. They hit submit. We move on. 8 days before the wedding, we get another scene of Hannah and Nick. They're at the bar waiting on her friends to show up because he's going to meet her friends. And she's asking him if he feels they've resolved everything. And he says he feels that they have. He takes accountability for how flirtatious he is. That's just his nature. That's just who he is. And she says, so you're trying to change that for me. He says, I'm trying to change my personality for you. I said, no. Once you have to do that, that's not the woman for you. That's not. Yes, I feel like there's an extent to how flirtatious you should be. But if you're with a secure woman, that shit wouldn't bother her. Because she would know that your intent is not to actually go forward with that flirtation. It's just the way you are. You're with a woman that is so insecure that that's going to always be an issue. And that's why y'all should not be together. But she ends up saying, by me asking you not to flirt with other women is asking you to change your personality. He says, no, I wasn't flirting. It just came across that way to you. She then says, this experience has tests and everything, and I feel like you failed this test. I said, what about all the tests that you failed? Let's talk about that. But he says that he doesn't want to fail her, and hopefully he won't fail this, talking about the meeting with the friends. And she ends up saying that we'll see Nick. He said that you're supposed to have confidence in me. She then says that she does. You don't. Stop lying. You talk about how blunt you are. That was bullshit. But her friends then come in, and she asks if they imagine her getting married. One of the friends said that I could imagine, but not in this way. They then asked Nick about him. What I was about to say, Rick. They asked Nick about his life and whatever. He gives them the rundown on the football history, his current occupation, and how like dating wasn't essentially his top priority. And that one friend ends up asking him, since a relationship wasn't really your top priority, what makes it a priority now? And he says it's just the time of life that he's in. Like where he is in life right now, he's ready to start a family. He's ready to get married. Says that he had never been in love with anyone before Hannah. Hannah then proceeds to ask him if he's ready to marry her yet again. Yet again. Why do you keep asking him? You can tell she's doing certain things to kind of make him say something or catch him to where other people see or try to see what she sees in him that bother her. But obviously he says yes. He throws the question back to her. She then says she does want to get married, but sometimes she questions things. I'm like, then end it there. You always have an issue. If you always have an issue, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. So why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting his time? Like, you could tell he actually wants to be with her. Don't know why, but he does. He does. She clearly don't. Clearly don't. So I'm like, why are you wasting his time? But he ends up saying they've had some situations where he felt conversations were harmless and Hannah thought they were more than what they were. And she then talks about how her bluntness can come off rude when it's coming from a kind place. I said, you need to work on that delivery because there's a difference between being blunt and a difference in between being fucking rude. She's rude as shit. Like, rude as fuck. Like, I consider myself blunt, but I don't say and do the things that she does. Like, she's rude. The way she talks to people, you can tell she thinks higher of herself. I don't want to say than she should because it's good to be confident, but like, she does it to a point where she feels like she's better than people. And you can't go around acting like that, especially in a marriage. Like, you going around acting like and putting down your partner, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. Never going to work. But she ends up talking about that. She ends up bringing up the duck shit again. She then over-exaggerates Nick's reaction to the jealous comment. Her friends pretty much side with Hannah on it not being funny. I thought it was harmless. I don't feel like it was that deep. Yes, he laughed it off. Yes, he didn't tell her, like, no, she's not jealous, but let's keep it real. She was. And it was harmless, though. It was literally harmless. But then again, we're dealing with somebody that's insecure, so he had to tell that woman, no, she's not jealous for her to be okay. But he then starts talking about how he's now questioning himself about his maturity and whatnot to pretty much make it seem like she's addressed all this stuff to where she's now got me questioning myself as a person. So she then claims, which goes back to what I said too, is like her insecurities, she wants to take him down a notch because he's so confident. She wants him to not be as confident because she's not as confident in herself. I said that earlier in the season and it's literally turning out to be true. She's trying to take his confidence down. But she then claims that she's not trying to change him. I said, but you just gloated about turning him from a boy into a man. And you're still not satisfied with who he is. Like, you're sitting here trying to change things about him. Yes, you're telling him to man up and do certain things, which is understandable. But it's the way you say it. And then it's clear that you just don't like him. That's the whole issue. But she then ends up saying that if he can't be considerate of her, don't make her feel that way. He says, that's not what you said last night. Her friends, you can tell they're starting to get uncomfortable because they're low-key going back and forth. And she ends up asking what he said. She ends up asking him what he said last night and said that she would never share anything that he'd be uncomfortable sharing. He can share it if he'd like to. I said, oh, that's rich coming from you. Because you definitely, when y'all was in Cancun, you went and couldn't wait to tell Marissa that y'all was having sex after he told you before he gave you the authority to do it, he told you not to say it. You still went out there and said it. Then you just went the night before telling the whole world that man don't eat no pussy. And I'm pretty sure he didn't tell you to go around and say that on camera. Now, let's be for real. But he says, go ahead, you have the floor. So she ends up saying that she doesn't feel he's honest and upfront with her because he thinks that if he is, she won't be in his life anymore. And if he chooses to not say yes to her when they walk down the aisle, they won't be together anymore. The friend ends up asking how he felt about that. And he says that he thinks about all the issues that she's brought up to him that make him have reservations. The other friend then says, but those are easy fixes. He says, sure. And then Hannah says, then do it. Like, see, it's like they kind of like piling onto him. And you could tell he kind of feels that. You could just see it all over his body language. But The friend says again, no, not her. Hannah says again, I'm just asking. Did she say that? She says again how she's just asking. Oh yeah, Hannah says again how she's just asking him for respect. I said, when were you ever going to respect him? He's giving you all of the respect, all of it. But he says that he feels that he does respect her, which I do believe he does. But the friends are only essentially hearing Hannah's side, which I wish they would shut the fuck up, because it's clear y'all have only heard her side and are taking everything that she says as face value, which I get it. I mean, you're her friends, but y'all haven't seen the full story, so I would let them hash this part out. Y'all just give advice as a whole instead of just directly talking to him about that type of shit. Like, I felt like they were overstepping bounds. But she then starts talking about how she doesn't question his love for her, but questions if he'll amount to the husband that she deserves. I said, what about you being the wife that he deserves? I can't stand Hannah, man. I cannot stand her. Garrett and Taylor, they're meeting up with her mom for dinner. Her mom's beautiful. Her mom comes and sits down. You can tell she has a really, really good heart. She talks about how her dad, Taylor's dad, she had to kind of like talk him off a ledge and pretty much let him know, like, yeah, they're our children, but they're not our children anymore. They're adults now, and they're essentially inviting us into their union, their wife, their marriage. So chill out. But she starts to get emotional, and she pretty much says, like, you just have to feel that you're compatible instead of just intellectually thinking it. And Taylor reassures her that she does. Her mom cheers to them and welcomes him to the family. Simply put, that was how quick the scene was. But 7 days until the wedding, we get Hannah. Where it's very Hannah. It's a very Hannah-filled episode. Well, we get a scene with her and her mom, who I love. I loved her mom. She's trying on wedding dresses today, trying them on. This was before, but we get to it. She's talking about how all the things that Nick doesn't match her on intellectually, humor-wise, just went on a tangent. You could tell as she kept talking, her mama was just like, so you still on this tip. That's just really what it was. And she says, this is what killed me though. She said he doesn't match her financially anywhere. I said, you don't have a job. What finances are you bringing in right now? What are you matching to the table? What kind of job did she have? Because I want to know how much money she had in her bank account for her to sit here and say he's not matching her financially. Like, the audacity of you. But her mom scrunched up her face in disgust. I was like, yeah. And she says her friends didn't like Nick. I said, so your friends didn't like him. So again, you're still letting your friends dictate decisions that you make. Because you did the same thing in the Pies, and now you're doing it here. But her mom says none of that matters if you really love each other. Hello? Hello. She then says that she does love him, which is why she thinks she's still there. But she's saying that I'm teaching him how to love and be in a relationship, and it's not fair to her. I said, then fucking leave. Her mom says if you really want to marry someone, that's not going to be, you're not going to question it. You're going to know that you want to marry them. And she says it was nice seeing you have somebody where you could be happy, but it's your decision at the end of the day. Where's the lie? Marissa, Taylor, and Ashley, they're with their party for the wedding dress shopping. Ramsey's, Tyler, and Garrett are with their boys to go have the suit fitting. So at this point, we now know it's the wedding dress, the suit stuff. So noticeably missing is Hannah and Nick. So the girls, they're talking about it, how Hannah's not there. Marissa says she had talked to Hannah about the meeting and everything. And she talked about how Hannah had talked about how her friends met with Nick and it didn't go well. She ends up asking Hannah if she called off the wedding or whatever, and Hannah hasn't said anything yet to her. Vanessa Lachey ends up walking in. Marissa fills her in on Hannah as well. And Vanessa says, oh, okay, let's just flip it around. Let's talk about y'all's dress shopping because y'all have one more week for your wedding, until your weddings. And Taylor ends up, we get to who they have there. Taylor has her mom and her cousin there. Her mom says that Garrett is not her normal type, but she can tell that she loves her. Taylor agrees that was not her normal type, but love is blind. She does believe in that now. Marissa has her mother there, that woman, and her best friend Brenda that was there when Ramsey's met her friends. Brenda obviously supports it. Her mom says that she's good. She gets it. She said he's just hippie and not hyper masculine. That's just not normal for her. But Marissa's going to do what Marissa wants to do. And later on, it seems like her mama's starting to come around with Ramsey's, but we'll get to it. But Ashley, she brought her mother and her god sister, and her mom gets emotional talking about how she feels like she's known Tyler for a long time. So, Mama, you don't know Tyler. You don't know him for real. But she gets emotional. But the boys, they're with Nick Lachey. Tyler got his boys, Jake and Tavon. Garrett has his friends, Trevor and Brandon. And Ramsey's got his friend, David. So they start trying on the dresses and the suits and everything. I'm just going to skip through this. I'm not going to skip through it, but I'm going to skim through it. I didn't really type too much. But Marissa's mom, like I said, she's coming around the Ramseys. She likes how he was kind of taking initiative and doing certain things for her, which is interesting considering what happens later on. But Garrett, his friends pretty much are asking him about his apprehensions, if he has any. And he says, like, she's the right person for him as long as he feels that way every day. That's all that really matters. And he talks about how his parents are still not with him moving to San Diego, but he wants to be with Taylor. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. If he really wants to be with her, he's going to do it regardless of how his family feels. And that's just what it is. That's just what it is. But we get Hannah and Nick at home. They're sitting in the living room. There's this awkward silence. She then opens up her mouth and asks him if he feels that she's done anything to push him and help him grow, since that's what he said he wanted in the pods. Yeah, he said that, but the way you do things is different. When people say they want somebody to help them grow, it means we as a union are collectively making each other better. The way you talk to him does not come off that way. It comes off as if you think he is down here and you all the way up here. Don't nobody want that. Don't nobody want that. Don't nobody want that. But he says yes, and she asks if it's too much, and he says at times maybe. She says when she thinks about the incident with the duck, she wrote down, talking about that stuff that she wrote down on the note, respect, delusional, social awareness. He then finishes it with saying maturity and confidence versus ego. She says those are the 5 concerns that are still there and they've never left. I said all which apply to you. You lack respect. You don't respect him. You are delusional as fuck. You lack social awareness. Some of the shit that you say is like, hello, this ain't the time to do it. You might be mature in some ways, but you lack a lot of maturity because you as a 26-year-old woman, you should be a lot more secure within yourself. You shouldn't lash out on certain things that don't mean much. Like the way you tripped out about him and Katie's harmless conversation. That was very immature. All you had to do was ask him and he would have told you. If you was mature in that way, you would have asked him, okay, so what did y'all talk about? You could have asked it in a way that didn't show off that you was insecure. And then confidence versus ego, you don't have confidence. You have fake ego, but you don't have any confidence in yourself. You want us to believe you do, but you don't. But she ends up saying that they never... I don't know what I wrote. I'm going to skip over it. She ends up saying that he has no respect and she has to stroke his ego for him to be happy. I said... He says, I'm sorry that you feel that way. And she says she doesn't understand him. She doesn't get it. She then starts bringing up specific situations in a condescending tone saying, I bet you can't do that. I'm pretty sure he can. He just hasn't done it, but I know I can. I know I can. But he ends up saying you're just throwing shade for no reason, which is true. She says it's the truth. He says it's not. He says you're always demeaning, talking down to me. We're not equals. You act as if I'm not your equal. I said, talk about it. He then says as well, you think I can't take care of anything. You think I can't do anything. She then asks him, what are your responsibilities? She starts getting very, very condescending. And he talks about all his payments and stuff, all the things that he is responsible for. He talks about how he lives at home, doesn't have to pay rent. He takes care of himself and the people that he's around and makes sure that they're secure. She then starts talking about everything else that he does with your cat, or who takes care of her, who's doing what, just nitpicking. I'm like, I wouldn't be sitting there dealing with her. He said, I'm just a simple man. He said that he's never seen the side of her constantly bashing him and putting him down. I said, you haven't seen that? Well, we saw it from jump, essentially, especially outside of them pies. But he ends up saying, like, he isn't the type of man to come up with a list of notes to bash somebody. And she says, this is how you feel? You feel like I'm bashing you? You are. You are. And she then says that she just wants to make sure that she gets all of her feelings out, which I understand writing everything down because he said that too. He's like, I guess you are writing all this stuff down so that you can get your feelings out, which I understand. But it's like I said, the things that she's talking about, yes, those are things that he should take account of. He should take note to and try to fix those little things. But But like I said, the way she addresses him, that's the biggest issue, and that's the biggest no. You don't talk to your partner that way. You don't, because she's belittling him. She's not coming from a good place. Because if she was coming from a good place, she wouldn't say the things she says the way she says them. But she ends up saying that she's been trying, but because I love you, and she then says that she does. She said, "When does?" See, I'm I got so caught up. She ends up saying, "When does she just see it for what it is?" At this point, she's basically saying like, I'm trying, but you're not gonna change. AKA, you as a person is not gonna change to be the person that I want you to be. Bye, Hannah. If he's not good enough for you, leave. Stop trying to change him. But she says, I can't do the wedding. We couldn't do the wedding dress, suit and stuff, because it's not fair to us. Like, it's not fair to us. She said, I called you because I didn't want you to be blindsided. And then she then says that he tried to come up with a game plan to make himself not look bad. And she says that he had said that he didn't want to sit there and have him looking bad. I said, if anybody's looking bad, it's her. Like, I don't know why you would feel like you would be looking bad, but she the one that's looking bad. But she didn't ask him why he feels like he would look bad. And he says, because you said that you don't know me at all. And then she says, I don't know who you, I feel like I don't know who you are. I can't understand you. And he says, this is me. Like, and the way he said that, I felt bad for him. I felt bad for him because she made him feel like he wasn't good enough. And it's just like, that's the worst way to make somebody feel. But she ends up saying in her direct-to-camera interview that she feels manipulated and weak, and he was so worried about his friends and how everybody else views him. I said, you are delusional, because that is you. You worry too much about how other people view you. You worry too much about how your friends value what you got going on in your life. She ends up saying to him, it's not going to work, right? We're not getting married. It was an awkward silence. She ends up asking him how he feels. And he says it's probably one of the worst feelings that he's felt in his life. Maybe he could have done a better job with it, but he loves her. She then goes in her confessional saying, did you love me? Did you care about me? I don't know. But you kept saying that you never questioned his love for you. Hannah's a liar. Like I said, at the end of the day, you could tell that he's affected. She didn't seem affected by it at all because, like I said, I don't believe she genuinely liked him. We saw it from the moment that they met face to face that she did not see it for him. And she finally got done putting on the act. The jig is up. But Nick, I hope you find somebody. I hope you find somebody that's good for you and respects you. Hannah, I hope one day you do find somebody, but first and foremost, you got to work on yourself first, because the way you talk to people is never going to work in a relationship. It's never going to work in a relationship. It's disrespectful. It's rude. You can't bark about how you want respect when you don't respect the person that you're with. Grow up. Marissa and Ramsey's. They had their last day before the wedding. I'm going to kind of like breeze through these. She ended up asking if his Guyanese, I believe that's how you pronounce it, his family will be at the wedding. He ends up essentially saying no because he hasn't kept up with them. Apparently they were at his last wedding, and he's like, we're just starting fresh. So she ends up talking about how she's scared of divorce, not wanting to fail, following the footsteps that is a trend in her family. Divorce is a trend in her family. She ends up asking him how he feels every time he talks to her mom, and says, do you feel like she's warming up to you? He says that she has a good heart. It's just quick. Like, the whole process of us moving so quickly is quick to her. She has her doubts, but once we get married, he feels that she will warm up to him. She then talks about gifts, how she wants to get his mom a gift, and is pretty much asking him if he's getting her mom a gift, and says that she doesn't want to remind him. And as she's doing this, she's talking hella fast. I got ADHD too. I don't know if y'all can tell, but my mind moves a million miles a minute. Sometimes I start a conversation, start talking about something else, and then start talking about something else. She was on overload. This was crazy. But she then says she doesn't want, or she tells him that he doesn't have to get a gift for her, but it's clear that she wants him to do that. But he says that you are literally thinking a million miles a minute, jumping from multiple different topics. I said she is, because I was struggling to write notes because I couldn't keep up. But they then had this kind of like odd spot in the middle of their conversation about him bringing the flowers. It's a simple request. Yes, he can bring her flowers. He should bring her flowers. But the whole conversation itself is stupid to me. But she ends up talking about how certain things with the registry, if she didn't bring it up, would he have even thought about it? And he ends up saying like he's focused on the most important things, like prioritizing us, like what we're going through right now, the little things that could be big things. I'm trying to work those out first and focus more on that. But she says, I just don't want to feel like I'm doing this whole process by myself, like the whole wedding planning stuff. He apologizes. They seem fine in the moment. In the moment. Ashley and Tyler, they go skydiving. Y'all remember in the pies when she said that she wanted to skydive before she got married? They're doing it. They sit down. It was cool. I liked it. I don't know if I would do it, but then again, I'm like, watching them do it kind of got me thinking, I might want to do that one day. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But they sit down and it looks like they're having charcuterie and maybe champagne. They start talking about how great of an experience that was. He ends up saying, I wasn't lying in the pies. I told you I would do it. I said that might be one of few things that you might not have been lying about, because you've been lying since you've been out them pies. You've been lying. But they start talking about the process of having kids and stuff. And she starts talking about all you got to do is shoot up the club and donate your, you know what. But she got to push it out her vagina or whatever. And they start joking it off because they keep talking about donate. Y'all already know, donate. And his face, like his body language, when she said, they tried to joke it off. But I'm like, is it really a joke? Because there's more to it that you don't know. But they kiss and exchange I love yous. Taylor and Garrett, they're on their last date at the Architect House. They're eating in front of like these motion pictures. It's like a lot of scientific shit going on. It was cool. This was a nice little area to have a date because it's on the floor too. So like all you see is that type of shit. That's all I saw though, because I fast forwarded it. Don't kill me, but I fast forwarded it. The last scene, we got 2 days before the wedding. Marissa and Ramsey's, they're in their they're in their apartment room. And they're in the bedroom. He's sitting on the edge of the bed. She comes out the bathroom and she's asking him what he's thinking. He's clearly deep in thought. I don't know exactly what but I still don't really know what they was talking about because they didn't really talk about much in specific. But from what I gathered, he's kind of like in his head about everything that's going on. He says he doesn't want to jump to rash decisions because they've talked through their issues, but this is one of those things that, it's just a lot going on. She ends up saying, if this was the issue you were having the whole time, and then he cuts her off, and I'm like, what are y'all talking about? What are y'all talking about? But he ends up saying that he doesn't question loving her, the marriage. He just doesn't know what direction he wants to go in. And she ends up saying, I know it's normal to feel nerves and whatever, but outside influences aren't always helpful. So to me in that moment, I'm like, so it sounds like somebody has been talking to him, maybe talking doubts into his brain, and maybe he's eating it up. But he ends up saying that he doesn't want to get a divorce. Like, he doesn't, what did he say? He said something along the lines of like not wanting to get divorced or whatever. And she's like, we're all terrified of it. That's the whole point. Everybody in life is terrified of getting into a marriage and getting a divorce, but that's just the risk that you take for love. That is true. But that's where it ended. Next week is the finale. I'm very happy that we're now at the point of the season where we get one episode next week, one episode for the reunion, so I can keep up, calm down, relax, give y'all a actually thorough, focused recap. But I'm all caught up. Thumbs up the video, drop y'all's comments down below, share the video, subscribe if you're new. I will see y'all next week. Peace.